all here.
All right, Dr. Bustles,
Present.
Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brown.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. I want to jump right into the presentation phase of this. So, there she is. Miss Sumner. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. You want to go? You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. So the drill, you got to be in front of the podium.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity. I want to give a special thanks to Ms. Wilson, who has always been there helping us get to where we need to go. And everybody knows I love Clint, but he works, and that works for us. And then the OBO office with Aisha, and I worked Cassandra so hard while I was on vacation that she probably need a vacation. So with all of that, I want to tell you a little bit about DITSA. Hopefully, most of you know about DITSA. What we're doing today, DITSA's been doing for over 39 years. That's working to improve the economy, working to build other businesses, working to strengthen Columbia. I tell everybody, I worked with the first Kirkland Finley, the daddy, and every mayor ever since then, and administration. So that's a little bit about DITSA. And you have to say, well, what do you do? We look at a problem, come up with the way to solve it, but centered in this is the growth and development of the businesses we serve. We found out one thing: when the businesses grow, the city grows. Because from that comes the taxes, come workforce development. So everybody win when we are looking at this. We look at why are you here now? I want to give you the key focus areas: business growth and investment, entrepreneur opportunity expansion, and business-friendly practices. We can't do this alone. We've always worked collaboratively, even though some people might doubt that because they say I really do push. But I'm pushing for something that is so critical now. It's the growth of businesses, particularly the next generation. I know y'all can't tell this, but I won't be doing this a whole lot longer. But there's a group out there that we need to prepare now. And in preparing that, you have to partner. We'll partner closely with the OBO office. We'll partner closely with the Columbia Economic Development and partner closely with engineering, procurement, and administration. Now, the goals and objectives that we have for this proposal that we are presenting to you are things that we've been doing for many years. We operated the Minority Business Enterprise Center, the longest operator in the country, for over 20 years. And recently, this administration stopped, cut off all of the Minority Business Development Center. But they did not cut off the desire, the need, and they did not cut off our clients. They just cut off the contract. So we were so fortunate and decided we would look at other ways to do the same thing, even though it might be narrow. So we're really looking at Richland County and the surrounding areas now with a focus on the city of Columbia. But one of the things to do that, we're gonna have to streamline and simplify the procurement system. Sometimes in trying to get it better and better, it gets worse and worse. But right now we need to make it smaller. But then we need to increase participation of all businesses. The only way we're going to impact the tax base if we have companies with the revenue that's paying taxes, and you know what? And that the city and county is collecting the taxes. That's what's going to grow the city. When we look at the technical assistance, that is the part that we're talking about. But we're also talking about DITSA has been so fortunate. When there was a BP Barber, they had a person called Bill Davis. He was our mentor, and today we stand in front of you with an engineering license because of the City of Columbia program and Bill Davis. So I really want to forever thank him because he moved the needle. Now, in moving the needle, that does one thing. It helps us grow. It helps us pay higher wages. It helps us pay taxes. Then there has to be capital. You know, capital is underneath everything. We've been so fortunate with capital. We have a bank here called Optus that has been ready, then the city has a program that's been ready. Frankly, one of the buildings we bought, we used the city's program at 20%, and that allowed us to have a lower interest rate. So we want to continue that. And then we want to build a stronger business ecosystem. The business cannot be standing alone. It has to stand with all of the other pieces to make it work. And the city of Columbia has done a really excellent job at trying to pull the system together, but we found some places that we can even pull it tighter, with your end result being growing the business. Now, I know you all don't know this. It does not grow without getting work. Must have opportunities to grow, because that's what really grows the business. Then that business owner and that team have to do what they do to make it grow. Now, we want to enhance transparency and accountability. And to do that, we improve the digital tool. There's someone here who always tells me, we almost got ACH, the digital tool. And he's been telling me that for many years. So I'm holding him accountable into his word that the ACH is going to happen, because it's the easiest way to pay the business and the quickest. You mail more checks out of town that come back. So I know we're going to claim that this year, and we're going to cut the proposals out right now. And I really want to thank him for staying on it and not getting upset with me when I'm a record that say the same thing over and over again.
Diane, if I could spend all the checks that I got in the mail right now, I'd be in good shape.
Thank you, darling. I'm doing, you have to do what you do, and if you're passionate about it, because I do feel like I was called to this job, because I knew nothing about business. And then inclusive outreach campaign. We have to, you have a program called CDBE. The CDB has several counties. So if we're going to be inclusive about it, we need to make them know that they've got the program. We need to have them include our businesses, and we work toward that end. So we're going to work, if we're going to keep CDBE, so that it is inclusive and is serving everybody. The next area is performance measures. The one thing, connecting City of Columbia's focus areas next. The focus area has to be business growth, attraction, and new investment. For a while, we've been in a standstill. So now we need to look at, why are we standing still? Why is Columbia the capital? And Greenville is doing this, Charleston is doing this. So we want to come and be a part of that look to see, how do we begin to grow that? And part of that is business growth. And along with business growth will always be the people growth and new investments. And looking at new investments coming into Columbia is a very hard job. And it's probably not one you have complete control over. But we need to continuously keep it on the table, because we need the big companies to come invest here, hire people, etc. Then increasing opportunities for new entrepreneurship. The industry has changed so since I started. When I look now, I see chips, I see AI, I see engineering in a whole different kind of way. Business like mine will probably not be what you see 10 years from now if it does not change. So the businesses we're working with, it's a matter of, how do we change them? How do we get them to move to something else? And then part of every business is talent attraction and retention. You must attract talent. That is not as easy as you might think, because many of you got to the city and you stayed. So attracting talent is very difficult, but we got to find a different way of doing that. And then, yes, you need retention, but I've learned the hard way. You need retention, you need the next generation and the next generation, because every one of them think different, every one of them look at things different, and all of that will strengthen Columbia. And then we need increasing downtown density. We're certainly moving in that area. And just as far as where, many of us don't quite know, but I think we need to see, how can we participate with it if that's your end goal? And we need to look at our neighborhoods to continuously build them. Now, when we do all of this, the one thing that your chairman has taught me, how are we going to grade you? What's your performance? What is that going to be? So that's what this is, the performance measures. Because one, we want to be graded. We come to you prepared to be graded, we come to you prepared to have a report to you quarterly. Um, so in grading us, we talked about an indicator being industry-focused business acceleration and capacity building training. Now, in my mind, training is a two-edged sword. You never know who really get trained. But one, we want to go back to them after holding something so we can measure it, and then we want to see the results in the business. We just don't want to hold an event. For those of you who come up in my era, we're event out. We probably stopped going to the events. Now what we need is how do we get to the business? How does that training make such a difference in our marketplace that we can take it and use it? Then quarterly business opportunities. Everybody does some kind of plan, and you all do too. But how does the business know where you're going? What is that quarterly? Where are the opportunities? The reason we want to know, and we'd like to see how we can help them get there, you plan for it. Right now I have a business who's planning for something that's coming out. And I guess I am protective because I did say I have a business. There's a whole team working with him, but he's a young business, and I've been looking for the young ones. So, because that's the next generation of business, and it's time for us to really focus on that group. And then when we look at small business participation in the different contracts, all small businesses, but when I look at why was OBO started, it started when the first MPP, and we were a contractor on that contract. We were the subcontractor, and OBO began. OBO has done wonders since then, but it has some changes we need to be looking at now because we just had the second study. And one of the things Commissioner Herbert constantly say, I want to see how we are implementing what they suggested. So we want to look at that too. Then we want a performance dashboard. That's something that one of my employees, I started so fast I didn't tell y'all, both of these work for DITSA. Both of these live at DITSA. Both of these been with DITSA. She started the day I started and left, came back, and left and came back. She's been there over 30 years. So we've been very fortunate in keeping our staff. So y'all meet my team. And all. So then strategic teaming and joint venture. We are learning we're too small in the engineering arena around here. We must team. And what I'd like to see and we begin to do, how do we put teams together? Shouldn't be just black team, white team, blue team, green team. You put a team based on skill set. And when you put that team together, you can go after bigger projects. And Columbia is just the impetus of it. It's the push for it. It was always designed that we would go to other counties, doing it, other counties, and doing other counties. So we're really working with one of our mentors now, who we're going to have a discussion with. How do we look at other work? How do we look at the federal work? Because alone Columbia can't do what we want to do, but you can when you tell your story, or when we tell the story and the other areas do it. And then collaboration, outreach, and awareness campaign. We collaborate, that's critical, and we do outreach. And I'm telling you, I see that you do it quite often. So maybe it just needs to be more focused. Maybe it needs to be a sit down. Maybe we can select a certain number of businesses and actually sit down with them with a certain number of other businesses, see how we team them and put them together and how they committed. The one thing I'm firmly convinced of in your MPP program, if the mentor buy into the goals and objectives of the city, they make a difference. I know it because they made a difference with DITSA. And now we have another one with KCI with Bill Davis. So I was so glad to go back from where we started, but I promise you the two will make a difference. We need that same difference with all of the other businesses, but it's a matter of what's in it for the mentor. They aren't doing it because they like us. They do like me though, but they're really doing it because they want to grow too. So it's up to us to help the mentor grow and the protege grow and the city grow. At all times, we need to keep in mind, we're doing this, and I'm standing in front of you asking the city to share in it, but we have a responsibility to see that you grow also, that the revenue of the city comes from taxes, the revenue comes from the people who stay here. So how do we begin to look, how do we have our students say, we want to live in Columbia, we want to work in Columbia, and don't come here, go to school, and go back where they come from. So it's a lot of work to be done. Now let's look at the challenges and barriers. limited engagement from small business. The OBO project, MPP, was started over 20 years ago. When we did the study and looked at it, I can absolutely tell you, Jimmy Chow, who is one of the best engineers we have in this city and state, and he's my client, and then Deetsa, we benefited. That was Beverly's goal for two in the professional. It was to be a lot of businesses. We want to go back and look at how can we get the others to benefit. But then there's two other areas, the area of construction. The construction fell off completely because we didn't understand that you draw it, you design it, permit it, and it might sit till the city get money. And while it sit, the construction is waiting to see when is my turn. So as we began looking at changing how we procure and the system, says the state law says low bid, but we can change it to design, build, and some other things. We've already met with Clint on how do we look at a different kind of system so that we can get our contractors back and believing that this works for them. We already started talking with them to bring them back. Then we look at the city department. Engineering has done a phenomenal job with us, but the city has tremendous other departments. When you look at it, I'm always in my head community development because they need sometimes the general contractors. We have far more general contractors than we have engineering, et cetera. So I want to see how we can begin to look at others. And then probably the holy grail is professional contracts. We've been involved in it, but we'd like to see all of the areas in the city look at it and see, is it room to expand what we do to some of those? And then challenging the large prime contractors. Resistance to joint venture. And I don't know that they're resistant as much as they think it's a subcontract program. And we're gonna have to go back to them to see. And I thought I'd start with mine. We have a meeting this week, Thursday, with Hazen Sawyer, because we too have been just as guilty, so we can see, this is a mentor protege. What am I learning from you? What are you willing to teach me? Knowing that Bill Orr is willing to do whatever, but we have an ask. So we're about to go, but we want to do that with all the other companies too. And then slow vendor payment processing. I'm so fortunate because the city manager called in the contractors I was working with to see could they pay me through ACH and a little quicker. But there's a whole slew out there. We found that the primes wasn't getting paid time. And when they do, they mail that check out of state. Then the check come back. By the time the paper get it to us, so we want them, and that's already in place. So we won't have to talk about this longer. I'll be celebrating the day that he called me and tell me it's done. So that to me is a big thing. And then data collection and reporting complexity. Electronic and tools now is for everything. We don't need the paper. One, my 7-year-old told me to go ask Google when I asked him a question. So if my 7-year-old telling me to talk to Google, I know we can do electronic tools to begin doing things. So I'm hoping that we can do some of that. Then when I look at the program overview, and I know he told me I had a small amount of time, and I'm trying to obey with that, but I have a lot to say. So under the program overview, the 8 pillars of information to business growth is there for you to see. Outreach and awareness, citywide small business survey. I think we need to see who are the businesses, who is not participating with the city. I looked very clear. You see on every contract it's the same people. It's a broader base out there. Maybe it's time that we go and let them know we want you, we welcome you, and here's how you get into the door, because that's what we do.
All right, so, I spent a lot of time in my own head thinking about all this stuff. And I think about my own personal experiences and I think about how they've been good and how they haven't done what I've wanted them to do. So besides the city, how do we get local businesses just to also work with each other in the private sector? So I've either been fortunate or unfortunate. My whole life, we've never really worked within the city. Okay, so 99% of my business is outside of Columbia, and 95% of it is outside the state of South Carolina. I get customers in South Carolina by accident, at best. And I don't even know why. I don't have no idea. I've been doing this for 33 years in my business. And then we spun off another business that's doing lighting and solar. And guess what our customer base is? Anybody but here. And I don't even understand it. And it drives me crazy. And I'm doing it. And I don't understand how this has happened to us. And so besides the city, how do we get businesses in Columbia to collaborate, coordinate, and work together?
You know, I think the businesses in Columbia is willing to do that. It's the information flow and knowledge. If you really look at when the business is done, by the time it get here, it's settled. We need to be in the settling area so we see who, where, and how. And when we are at the table, under the table, or wherever, we then have an opportunity to know and prepare ourselves. Many of us want to work collectively with the city, with the state, with the federal government, etc. But part of it, the city is right here, and we can come up here. But the city also know much more than we do about who's coming, who's marketing.
That's what I think is important, is that the city needs to be a pivotal center point
Yes.
of energy, not just activity, energy, and we're not. And it's almost like if you're too small, you're shut out, and if you're too big, you shut yourself out. So we've shut we don't even want local business. How about that? I'm just saying something that's a terrible statement. I don't even want it. Never mind, because it's not what I do. And so it becomes a distraction. Okay, and that's terrible to say. And what we've got to do is change that why that is, and then develop this concept of business. Columbia's never been thought about as a center of business. It's a center of everything else. Okay,
And I think
it's
under your
healthcare.
leadership,
It's
that's what we
warriors.
began doing.
Yeah, and it's government. That's what we got to. We got to have this super purposeful beginning. It's not I mean, we are really at a beginning. We're nowhere close to a middle. We're at a beginning of a phase where we want Columbia to have this energy and pull people together. And so in my mind, there's gotta be this connectivity within the community to wanna work together as well. Private sector, public sector, whatever.
And I think with your leadership and the rest of the city, we're certainly prepared to do it and already work outside of this realm and have access. You know, it was disheartening to me when I called Representative, I call her Annie, that's her name, in Fairfield to ask, how do we get into your area since our CDBE is a part of your area? She said, I didn't know it. So I came back to Isha and we're gonna look at a strategy so that they know we've included them, and maybe then they'll include us. And that to be for that whole CDBE.
That is a great point, and I think that cannot be undersold. Is you don't know what you don't know, and if you don't know it, you don't know it, and there's no way to get around that except to reach out, and I feel like it's not. The time is right. And the vibe is right. The business vibes is better. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and I think you gotta sell it. It's a problem. You gotta sell it. So.
And we have as one of our tools a survey of all the businesses, so we can get input to see how do we begin to engage them differently, how do we begin to inform them different, and what is it that they don't know. I would tell you that we're an LBE, and I was asking my staff, can we tell if anybody who's an LBE has ever submitted a bid or say, I can do this lower, or et cetera? And so that was a knowledge issue that, so we really are gonna take all of it and begin to look at it from a business standpoint. When you look at the engineering office, it's probably engineering. When you look at the OBO office, it's probably compliance. The piece missing might be business. And that's the reason why we come in front of you today trying to say we are prepared to be the business piece, collaborating with all of those with the end result of you being able to evaluate us at the end of 1 year to see, did it move the needle? Do we have any new businesses here? And we have one today already.
Yeah, I appreciate that you brought up already kind of the two major bottlenecks or challenges of, from the city's perspective, maybe some of the cash flow and how quickly minority-owned businesses are paid, but then also just modernizing some of our procurement. So what I'm interested in knowing is, you know, at the end of it, it's great. And one of the reasons why we asked for performance measures is that we want to be able to look back a year later and say, this is what we accomplished in our partnership. But, you know, if you were to say it in your own words, like, what is it that you would be able to accomplish and help the city do through this project?
Through this project, we think that we can help the city become back the city that it was intended to be when we first started the OBO office. It was decided at that time, the goal and objective was to increase the number not only of on the list, but participating in contracts, being aware and wanting to work in the city where we live. The other thing we think we can do is Columbia is the center of that area. Get those other areas to see that Columbia can be the leader of it. And as the leader, we can reach out to them, get them to participate with us, and we with them. The other thing we see that we think we can do is bring back some of the particularly construction contractors who left. And then on the younger area, we need to see who are the new ones coming up. Who are the new ones? It's critical that we realize when I go, Jimmy Chow, Nate Spells, Dr. Lynn, all us came the same time. I got a secret. We'll probably be leaving the same time. But we should have a next generation behind us. And then now it's a generation behind them. And so we're going to focus this time on seeing who is that next generation so we can work with them in a different kind of way.
And I think I would just add, Mr. Chair, that one of the things we want to also try and track is how many of the subs actually then become prime over time? Is that actually happening, or do they remain subs forever? Which then I think points to some other kind of structural issues, but that would be a great way to see growth
I
as well.
agree, and you know, and just thinking out loud, you know, so years ago, we did Coley did the wayfinding signs in Columbia. I didn't get that through Columbia. You know how I got that job? Through the designer in Miami. So, and I was like, you know, we live in Columbia, right? And they're like, what? You know, so anyway, so it's everything that I've ever done locally almost never comes out of local. It always comes from someplace else. And that's what we gotta change, is we gotta change that we, you know, we wanna think local, but think team, you know, think future, think everybody, you know, not just this individualistic mentality that we've kind of developed in Columbia,
But
so.
in answer to her question, we're gonna have to address the procurement system. And in addressing the procurement system, the law says two things: professional service and low bid. We are needing to look at what the county has done, what the state has done, what the school district has done. They do a lot of design, build, and other kinds of things to make it more collaborative, et cetera. So that we don't know where it is now. We just know that, like you say, it's not working and we aren't moving. To become a prime is an interesting thing. You have to have revenue because my G&A rate, my overhead rate is going to be so much higher than that $10 million firm that I can't compete as a low bid for the construction. So we're going to have to grow the firm so that they can compete. That's why I'm so pleased to see right now there's quite a bit of protege-led projects out. So at least they'll be bidding against each other, et cetera. So we're really gonna need to look at that. But we have to grow the firms for them to be able to be a prime and all, because otherwise they stay a sub, because that's all the revenue they got.
Man,
Thank you. That's all I had.
So is there, you know, Cheryl wrote this and she wrote a lot of stuff here.
No, this is helpful. I mean, there's a standard way we had requested so that we can think about it. So appreciate all of the information.
Okay, and Will, I didn't know if you had any questions or comments.
There's so many moving parts to what you're about to do for the city. I can't wait to see it happen.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
But there's also moving parts that are in place already too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it feels
Need
like,
to-
all these parts are flying around, but they would be stronger if they were to pull together
Right.
versus just flying out there separately. And it frustrates me that, yeah, I know how hard it is to do it by yourself, you know? I mean, and that's not necessary in today's world.
And when you look at it, all of this is economics. All of this is, so where is your economic development department? How does it have all of these things under it? And how do they collaborate and work together? So when you evaluate it, you get a better product. So we do have looked very clearly at quite a bit, and I'm so fortunate. I was on the first disparity study. I was on the second, this was on the second disparity study. So we have all of that history to see how things have worked, not worked. Sometimes I was asleep, wasn't paying any attention. I'm woke now because I know my time for being awake is real short. And so with that in mind, what I'd like to say to you is we really want to work with the teams. We really want to. So we're hoping you will approve phase 1 implementation. And even though we're talking about a 2-year project, we want to be evaluated at the first year and see, did we get you what you think it should get, and did we deliver? And then we think a city task force to update the procurement policies aligned with what we're trying to do. Our policies probably haven't been updated in quite a while. That's hard work, but you see them through different eyes. But we're in a different kind of time. Never seen this time before, but it's still a time that we can make some changes, etc. We put in what we thought was the hours that would be needed. We have staff for those hours, and the management and technical training services should be open. We've done very well, and something I'm really big on right now is succession planning and all. We had a session not too long on it, but I'm also convinced that they need to start succession planning the day begin, because succession doesn't have to be death or move on. Succession can be illness or whatever. So we want to change the thinking and grow our businesses in different ways. And then capacity building. We don't want to bring a business in, they come in with a hammer and they leave with a hammer. We'd like to see them move to other tools, et cetera, et cetera. We'd like to see them move, et cetera. And that's particularly in our construction and our smaller engineering firms. I think on the MPP program, the only one, it was always designed to be to develop engineers. But Disa might be the only one in the whole 20 years who became an engineer, and that was because our mentor. So we need to talk with the mentor to see, do we need more, et cetera. It was the goal then, so we certainly want to look at that. And we want to strengthen our contractors. Some of them are bonded already, and the stronger ones are working elsewhere, you know. And so we want to bring them back so they work elsewhere. We still want them in Aiken, Sumter, Florence, et cetera. But we want to use their talents in Columbia too, because it takes an hour drive, which is an hour pay, because they're taking with them hourly labors. They can make money here, even with the low bid, et cetera. So we want to change that. And then we want transparent and accountable program executed, and inclusive economic growth, and measurable economic impact. I stand in front of you wanting to be judged, wanting to be measured, and wanting to see, does this work to grow the city? We will also stand in front of the businesses and ask them the same question. Does it impact them? So I thank you very much for giving me this time and opportunity, and we look forward to the next journey that we'll embark on. So are there any other questions for me?
Oh, thank you, Diane.
Ms. Wilson, thank you so much for your service.
I will say one other thing, I also think this ties in, I think about the next 4 years for the city as a time of organization, structure, management, our own sustainable growth and management of that going forward, and to really lay out the groundwork for the next generation of people, and really have it where it's teed up for the future. So I think it all ties into the same stuff. So
Thank you.
Diane. All right, who's next? Boyd Innovation Center.
Stand by. I think it speaks to how broad.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
So big.
We
Thank you, everybody, for your time. I will start with a caveat. So my name is Lanford Holloway. I'm the president of the board at the Boyd Innovation Center. And I have Sam Herskovitz right here, who is our brand new executive director. But this is Sam's second day on the job. So we figured we wouldn't throw him into the fire on his second day. So the caveat is that, this is not a full-time thing for me. And it is for Sam, but it's his second day. So we're kind of filling in a little bit here, but going to try to give you a presentation that provides some decent oversight. Okay, so in terms of the areas of engagement with the city, I really could have made an argument that we hit on every single one of the areas, but I took a couple of them out. But before I get to that, let me I was told that we should really kind of introduce the group, that you guys are familiar with who we are and what we do. But broadly speaking, we create entrepreneurs through mentorship, subsidized office space, and educational activities. In terms of the first point, we really aid with that, I think, in a lot of different ways. But our whole goal as an organization is to create entrepreneurs and then to help small businesses grow. So of course that helps with business growth, helps with attraction too, because if people are coming from out of the city or out of the state, we provide a place for them to land and provide a supportive environment for them to grow. And of course, it goes without question, this also aids in new investment because our client companies are raising capital that they then use to hire people and reinvest in the community. So we kind of hit on all those cylinders. In terms of talent attraction and retention, that one also should be pretty clear. We are helping to build companies. Those companies will hire people. And also, we have a lot of recent graduates out of the university and some other schools around here. And a lot of those students with advanced degrees are leaving. I witnessed this firsthand as a small business owner here in Columbia. And so the more dynamic and innovative companies that we can produce and house locally, the better job we'll do at talent retention, of course, and attraction. And for the next point, increasing opportunities for entrepreneurship, that one should be pretty obvious in regard to what I just said. That is the mission of our group, as I indicated. And for the final point of making Columbia a seamless place in which to do business, that again is the point of our organization. We help people go through the ideation stage from I have an idea to creating an MVP to helping them think through, how do you manage a cap table? How do you raise money? What type of corporation should I form? How do you create presentations to go out and raise capital from sophisticated investors, et cetera, et cetera. And that is what we do. So for the, excellent. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. In terms of the goals and objectives, we continue to put founders first. That is first and foremost what we do. That was our kind of primary goal as a group. Founders are both our clients and also our products, which is kind of a unique thing to say and an interesting way of looking at it, but that is who we are. We will also concentrate on creating new founders and helping existing founders to grow and increase employment in Columbia. And of course, that has all kinds of side effects on the overall community. And we'll do this by supporting growth of innovative startups and working with various groups in entrepreneurial ventures. And we'll continue to work with angel investors, government agencies, economic development groups, community members, et cetera, to provide the resources that we need to our member companies at the BIC. We call the Boyd Innovation Center the BIC. And finally, our last major goal for the foreseeable future is to really expand our founder pipeline. I'll discuss that a little bit more under the challenges segment. But what that means in short is that we need to sort of broaden the top of the funnel for the groups and individuals that we're getting involved in our ecosystem. And we have some thoughts on how to achieve that effectively. In terms of performance measures, It goes without saying, but I'll state it clearly. Our success is measured succinctly and simply by the number of new enterprises that we help to create and the number of existing companies that we help to grow and thrive. And so at the end of the day, that is where the chips fall, and that is where we will judge ourselves, and we should be judged by the community and by yourselves. So over the past year, we hosted about 150 different events, and we had 1,500 unique individuals come through the door to take part in those events. Now, we had a lot of people come multiple times, and so that number would be much larger in terms of attendees, but those are unique individuals that came in, and we're looking to expand that. Our COLA Starts program, which is a pre-accelerator program, it's a 6-week program. It's entirely free. Folks apply to it, and we admit them, they get in, and then we walk them through the entire process of starting a company, of thinking through, revenue streams and MVPs, which is minimum viable product, all the things you have to think about to form a viable enterprise, and we help them out through that process. And we've graduated 20 tech-focused companies in the last year through that program. Our office spaces are currently about 75% leased out. We have a building in 5 Points. I'd welcome everybody in the room to drop by. You're certainly always more than welcome. We do plan on expanding that a little bit with an additional row of office space to the side. So our capacity will increase in the very near future. And finally, our member companies have raised about $500,000 in private sector capital and investment. And oh boy, are we just getting started in that. That's a good number, and we're pretty happy with that, but that number's about to grow, I think, astronomically. We have a lot of things in the pipeline. And that's one thing about what we do that's worth noting, I would say, is that it really takes us a couple of years. Once we get the process totally right, it takes several years for these companies to kind of flow through the system and the ecosystem to get to a point where they can raise that type of capital. And anybody in the room that's ever been involved with a company or started one will certainly understand that. You don't typically start on day one. It takes, months and months and years sometimes to go from an idea phase to a phase where a company is actually standing on its own 2 feet and is worthy of outside investment. So for challenges, I mentioned this earlier. Oh, yep. Thanks, Sam. Sam's already doing a good job on day 2. All right, so
There you go.
All right, so for challenges, I mentioned this earlier. We need to expand the top of the funnel, and I'll explain what that means. We have done over the last several years, I think, a really excellent job of reaching out to students in particular. Our events are filled with, young people, students from the universities in the area, and that's good. And we want them to be part of what we're doing. They absolutely should be. But, to quote my friend Chris Hively on this is a yes and type of situation. Yes, we want students, and they should be there. And we will continue to reach out to students. They absolutely should be part of the equation. And we also need to reach out to people that are a little bit older and have a little bit of experience. We know from nationwide numbers that the average successful first-time high-growth entrepreneur is about 32 years old. And so, which is not to say that a student who's 21 or 22 or 18 can't go start a company. We all know of a lot of success stories where they do exactly that. But we also do know that most people that are starting companies successfully have a couple of battle scars and understand a little bit more about what they're doing. And we need to do a better job of reaching that cohort kind of in the wider community in Columbia area. And we would welcome any support and insight that any of you have in that regard.
Have you looked at,
Go ahead.
so sorry, have you looked at outside of Columbia? First of all, I have to say, the challenges you've identified, I think you've nailed it in terms of some of the challenges of just small business entrepreneurship and creating a culture of entrepreneurs. I think we have focused a lot on students, which they're huge assets, but I'd also love to see people that choose to come live here, especially as the cost of living is getting higher in a lot of these metropolitan cities. We're easily accessible to those spaces. But a lot of folks just don't know or don't feel like they can enter the entrepreneur community here in Columbia. And I'm talking about more of like maybe your mid to late 20s or early 30s as someone that's wanting to start a business. Have you all thought about expanding beyond Columbia to recruit some of that?
We have actually. It's funny that you mentioned that. I was chatting earlier with Rick back there about that. We've been talking about trying to collaborate with a bunch of the other regions, and I was going to get to that under the opportunities phase, but I'll talk about that some now. We had a meeting in Augusta, I guess several weeks ago, we talked a lot about kind of innovation corridor type thing that would include Augusta and Columbia and some of the surrounding areas. This is something you hear a lot in economic development in general now. It's this idea of kind of these mega regions or regions that it's not just Columbia, that we think about, this whole southern region or at least the state and several surrounding states. I think the same thing is entirely true and applicable in this context as well, especially when it comes to, resources such as mentors, access to capital. There's no reason not to work together. I think historically, a lot of groups, especially that are doing what we do, have considered collaboration to be that maybe it hurts their standing a little bit, because perhaps they give up some control. But I really think that it's actually very good for the entire community. And so we are thinking a lot about that, about working together with other groups, not just in the city, like the incubator, but also with, other groups in the region and kind of the greater southeastern area to augment our resources and expand the pipeline in exactly that way. But I think your point is well made. You're right. We are an excellent and, low-cost environment. I just saw, I'm sure you guys know better than I, we just had some stat. We were the best city in Columbia according to, what was it? Something that came out like 3 or 4 days ago.
Redfin?
Yeah, Redfin, exactly. Yeah, so we keep getting all these accolades, and I think that they're well-deserved and well-earned, and we can start to capitalize on that.
So to tie into that question, so number one, is there competition for entrepreneurs within the Southeast?
Yes, I would say there is, yeah.
Right? So there's a market for entrepreneurs.
Sure.
Okay, so do we try to recruit entrepreneurs from other places? So I'll give you an example. So let's suppose there's a kid from Columbia that goes to the University of Georgia and is in their entrepreneur program, and they just go through all the different phases of this, and then when they get out of school, guess where they're gonna stay?
Right.
Athens. Not coming here. They're gonna stay in Athens
Right.
unless they're recruited here. So have we thought about trying to recruit people from other places?
Yes. Obviously, the most simple way to do that is access to capital. People follow the money.
It's not access.
That's also expensive,
Yeah,
right?
but it's also,
Yeah.
but it's access. Look, we live in a world of NIL, right? So part of, part of that is there's also this really great ability to try to make people feel good about themselves. Okay, so which has kind of been lost in the world. But there's nothing better than if you're a college senior to get a letter from Broco saying, we'd really like for you to consider moving to Columbia and being part of our entrepreneurial community. I would get that letter, and guess what I would say? Wow, that's pretty cool. I like that.
I think that it would be.
So, I had my oldest daughter was a pretty good soccer player, and she's the only one of my kids that got letters from other schools in the area about coming by to an open house.
Really.
Is that because she was a great kid? Nope, but she was a good soccer player. So anyway, all I'm saying is it's the ability to recruit, and it's the ability to come up with some of these ways of then adding the recruiting with something significant, not substantial, but something real.
I think that's entirely fair. I also think that we could do a far better job of retaining our talent. My own story, which I won't tell, but extremely briefly, I started a company and I hired a bunch of people that were getting advanced degrees in computer science at USC, and almost everyone in that cohort was leaving to go to California, Chicago, or New York. So we're graduating a lot of people with very good degrees, but they don't see this as a viable market for them to remain in because they can go get big dollars other places. And I think that we start to initially tackle that problem by keeping that talent and providing, meaningful, jobs for them.
First group of talent leaves to go to college. Second group of talent leaves to go get a job.
Yeah.
So my recommendation would be to think about both of them. So to think about all the kids in Columbia that don't go to university or don't go to locally, they go out of state for obvious reasons and some not obvious reasons. So my 4 daughters, the first 3 all went out of state for school and have all moved out of state.
Really.
So I know exactly what we're talking about because I'm living it.
What caused them to move? Just that they found
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity. My oldest daughter works for Warner Media in California. My second daughter runs a pretty high-end art gallery in Beaver Creek. And
Oh,
my
cool.
third daughter now works for Eden's a local company in West Palm Beach.
Nice.
So,
But the opposite can also happen.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I was
no,
not born and raised
but-
here, and I work for a big four,
Yeah.
and don't and I have the flexibility to be able to, and I'd like to see more of that. That model is very new to people here. I remember when I said oh yeah, my office is in Charlotte. I've been once to pick up my laptop. There's 450 of us that work for my company in South Carolina, and many of us have a lot of great skills that could be transferred into building something here, but there's just not that network that, Columbia is known as that space that could do that.
Yeah.
So we're definitely here. It's just, we don't know where to get started.
100%.
And that's where I feel like you all could come in. And even as someone who went into industry, I don't often know some of the lingo and jargon of the entrepreneurial world. And I have noticed when you all are talking about all of your work, maybe if you could be a little bit more, is plain speak about, what is GrowCo for the outside person that has an idea that wants to bring it to life?
Yeah.
What does that mean, right? Or what is Cola Starts in terms of how I can enter the pipeline and do something? I want to make it less intimidating for people to be able to take an idea and bring it to life.
That's good feedback. And I think that you're right. There is a tendency when you kind of specialize to use all the terms of art that are unique to that specialization.
Yeah.
You probably do need to be mindful of that. Yeah. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah. That's a nice segue to the next challenge, which is community support. We would like to have more of it. Not that we don't have a lot of support. We, certainly appreciate the financial support for one that the city has given us, and hopefully will continue to. But secondly, just, please show up. Everybody in the room show up. Bring friends, bring other entrepreneurs, bring people that are successful in business that maybe don't think that they have a place coming to the big. Bring them by too, so they can meet people and talk to our community, tell stories. I mean, so many impactful and important things happen when a lot of people, come together. And I think that critical mass is probably the single most important phrase as it relates to this. And so we need more help achieving that critical mass, to your point earlier as well.
Private sector support.
Well, it's okay. It could be better. And that's one of the.
I was thinking, okay, not great.
Yeah. Fair. That's one of the many things that we've been chatting with Sam about increasing support from the private sector. And I've had a lot of very meaningful discussions with some major leaders in the community. I won't say which in this forum, but they've indicated that they, are sitting on substantial amounts of capital that they just need a worthy cause to deploy that capital to.
Dr. Bussel's point, it's really a connection thing, and it's,
Right.
there's only so much, it's this energy thing, you gotta tap into this energy, but you gotta kind of sell the energy first before you can tap into it.
100%.
So I do think, I would recommend that somehow we really try to energize the private sector.
And to your other point about the community support, this might already be happening to my core folks, but I'd love to see you all add a stop to the Boyd Innovation Center
Yeah,
for the
please.
tour that y'all do. Especially for folks that have been around Columbia or are new or are interns, and then maybe work with the new exec, Sam, right? Yes, and get that connection, so they, we've been supporting them and they have hundreds of people go through their Capture Columbia, and Crash Course program, which is literally a tour of all the things that Columbia has to offer.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that happen,
Definitely
if that could be
stop.
something you all work on.
Be pleased to, chat about that.
Yeah, we've done it in the past, we love to do it.
Excellent. Yeah.
And just for what it's worth, coming in on day two, the private sector, I think is just such an untapped, huge space for us to, I think there's bi-directional mutual benefits. I don't think it's just even one way to the other. I think there's talent development, there's pipeline in and out. I think there's lots of opportunity.
I think
Agreed.
probably got some scars on this. I think the private sector in Columbia specifically does not feel engaged.
Yep.
So, I would say it's the job to engage the private sector, not bitch at the private sector for not being engaged.
I think that's correct. Yeah. I mean, you have to ask, right? To get something typically. Yes.
So you can't, the private sector can't want to get involved, they have to be asked to get involved.
Yeah.
It's just the way it works. I mean, so, and I think they want to get involved, but I think they've got too many poor experiences of, what does my involvement mean? Oh, geez, at lunch you asked me for a check.
Right.
Wow.
And success, breeds success in that regard. I've raised money for private sector companies and nobody wants to be first. But once you have a couple of players involved and you can kind of list some names, that makes it a lot easier. And so I think that we can, follow something similar in that regard. And finally, for the challenges, and great questions and feedback, by the way, thank you. But for the challenges, we need to tighten up and better understand what success actually looks like. I mentioned a few slides ago that, our main criterion through which we should be judged are the number of entrepreneurs that we create and the number of new ventures that we help to grow and thrive. And that is true. But for our own internal processes, we are in the process of creating a system that will better capture all of our events and attendees. So for example, which events are popular and why are they popular? Who's coming to these events and who's coming back and who ultimately is going out and starting a company and where do they come from and how did we reach them through what marketing initiatives and efforts so that we have truly actionable insights that we can then use to spend our time and money in a much more rational and effective way. Not that we have not been doing that, but what we are trying to do right now is apply, ironically, very much a private sector sort of startup ethos to this, nonprofit, which is to say, look, we have some money, and let's make sure that we're spending those dollars as effectively as we possibly can. And so we can iterate on our events. We will double down on the things that work and generate interest and outcome, and we will maybe de-emphasize the ones that don't. And that's very much a private sector sort of view of you can't fix what you can't quantify, and you don't understand certainly what you don't have metrics around. So we're building really good, unbiased, third-party, kind of metrics. And we have some of the best in the business people that are volunteering enormous amounts of their time to create that system. And these are people that have done it for like the Clinton Global Initiative, big groups. So that's exciting. And so for the opportunities, I'd mentioned earlier, we're seeing great success with our Cola Starts program, and we hope to continue to see that. It's been very exciting, meaningful, and impactful. I've spoken to the last couple of cohorts and just told kind of my own story as a business founder and entrepreneur. And it's really meaningful to me personally just to kind of meet these people and hear their stories and understand where they're trying to go. It's a very impactful and really neat program. The need for what we're doing is not decreasing. In fact, I would say that it's increasing astronomically. The economy is becoming more and more complicated, is probably a safe word to say. And the better we can prepare our local environment and new entrepreneurs to, compete in this high-tech world, I think the better that we will do as a community on the whole. A lot of private equity and venture capital groups are really interested in secondary and tertiary markets, which Columbia would be one. A primary market, for example, would be like Silicon Valley, New York, Boston, places like that, even like Atlanta, Charlotte, for example. But a brief anecdote, but it's worth mentioning. I sold a company 2.5 years ago, and the investment bankers we worked with were out of Silicon Valley. And they told us the same thing. They said a lot of these companies really like groups that were started in environments just like Columbia, because you've had to make some tough choices. You have probably had limited access to capital, and you had to grow in an environment where you must be a little more conservative with your money, and so the balance sheet looks a little bit better, and the P&L looks a little bit better, and that is apparently of great interest to all these private equity groups who have sunk billions, if not even trillions, over the last decade into a lot of these pie-in-the-sky concepts that don't really have a lot of market viability. So I think there's a real opportunity there, and we hear that a lot from outside private equity groups, that they want things in this part of the country. They want us to bring them ventures that are worthy of funding, and so that's a great opportunity. And finally, our community members have shown that they have a lot of interest in what we're doing, and that's evidenced by the people that are showing up to our events, and we continue to have those events, and we're going to iterate, as I indicated earlier. So for the future use of funds, we'll continue to refine and expand our programming, as I had indicated. I think we've done a lot of things very well, and we've done them correctly, but that by no means is to say that we don't have room to improve. You always do, and we certainly do, just like everybody else, and we're going to continue to improve. We also would like to increase our outreach to identify and develop founders. I mentioned that earlier. That's the top of funnel discussion that we had. I know they're there. I know we have more people in this community that want to start companies. We're just having trouble reaching them, and that's another, I guess, area where the city, the community could be really helpful. Is we just need to spread the word on what we're doing. It's basically all free. We just want people to show up and, we'll answer questions and hold their hand a little bit. We just need to spread the word and evangelize some. And finally, and this is a point that, we touched on earlier, to continue expanding to work with other, not just local groups in Columbia, but groups in the surrounding cities to create a regional impact. And we think that's, very important for us to move forward. with that expansion. So any other questions?
Yeah, I would just make one more comment, and I appreciate your presentation, appreciate what you guys are doing. It feels like, you know, kind of the vibe today is, it feels like we gotta get out of the work hard phase into the sustainable, meaningful growth phase.
Agreed.
And I think Dr. Bustle's point all along has been, if we can't measure this, then you just stay in that work hard phase and you never get out of it. And before you know it, you feel like you're getting a lot done, but you can't really, you know, when you go home and drink a Miller Lite, you can't really figure out what that was. I mean, but you worked hard and you feel like you're making a difference, but you can't really explain it. So I think you're on the right track.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yeah, sure.
One of the things is I'm sitting here, and I'm hearing some common themes between the groups that are presenting. And Erica, I know I'm not on the mic. But I guess the common themes, it makes me wonder, and this might be incumbent upon our staff to make sure that the metrics that the committee has formulated, I know sometimes you're thinking about it based off your individual skill sets and what your bread and butter is. So you're trying to grow founders, you're trying to, you know, focus on that need for high growth, high tech businesses, maybe not. Are y'all working together though as economic development partners that the city has identified? Because one of the things over the years that's been a struggle for these development partners that the city is funding is, and I think this committee has done a great job of trying to nail down metrics to show this moving the needle of what the city is trying to do to grow businesses or whatever, or be business friendly. But if you just listen to DISA, and now I'm listening to what this presentation is saying, there's some intersections that maybe we need to make sure through, have you ever met with Aisha, the Business Opportunities and Economic Development, so they can help these particular development partners that are coming before this council work together to move the needle. If you're looking to find more founders, and Ms. Diana's looking to find the next generation, and CORE is out there, I would hope, doing some of that to make sure they're individuals who want to stay in Columbia. Those are all common things. And so one of the things that, as the manager, that I'm always, with the funds that we have, at the end of this year, it would be good, and this isn't just for you, it's for all the groups that are in here, but how are you gonna move the needle together? And so I challenge our staff and myself to help you all figure that out. Because just like you're looking to go and expand the network, do you know what our CSA is? That the last presentation in our procurement regulations have defined as the CSA, those particular counties. You all ought to be defining those things together is dawning on me, so that as you're looking for development organizations and entrepreneurs, so are some of these same other groups in here. And we're gonna be funding all of you. I would think we ought to ask that you all are doing it to coalesce around some things, so by the end of the year, maybe we really have seen the needle
I think
move.
that's extremely reasonable, yeah. And so I personally am not familiar with the term that you mentioned. I bet our previous executive director was.
Business opportunity.
You know, you CSA, something like that?
Right, so Aisha and those, and Brian and those in economic development should be able to help y'all understand if it's Orangeburg.
I think you're talking about Caroline,
I don't know what,
the
that's what I'm
previous,
saying.
the previous
Oh,
executive
okay.
director.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
saying, I'm
yes,
sure she was
yes.
familiar with that.
Yes, and I
Like I said, I'm
visited
standing in a
the
little bit, yeah,
innovations.
yeah, okay.
Y'all gonna have these conversations in Augusta, for example, then that's great, but you probably ought to be having them in those defined counties that when we issue bids, that they've got to also respond. Because if you've got people you're growing in those areas, then they would then be, to the last discussion, we would be ensuring that local businesses, they know about the work coming out of Columbia.
I think that's fantastic. I think, historically, one of the major problems we face as a community is there's a tendency for everyone to silo all their efforts and then to kind of view everything as a zero-sum game. We are really committed to stopping that, of saying we'd like to work with anybody and everybody that wants to push this community forward. And the only way to get voted off the island, so to speak, is to be a bad actor. But as long as you're trying to, push things forward, we want to be at the table with you, 110%.
100%. I think core, when they come up, and I'm gonna hush because I've probably gotta go do something else, but you cannot continue to focus your energy only in certain segments of Columbia. There's small minority business entrepreneurs all around the city who are yearning and asking for assistance as well. And so you right here in this room together have to lean on each other to figure out what that looks like.
Well said, and I agree entirely. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, we better keep rolling. Dixon, you ready?
Yeah. Hi, good morning, and thank you, committee members and city manager and assistant city managers and my fellow partners for the opportunity to speak with you today. A lot's happened since the last time I addressed this committee, but cognizant of our time, and I will try to be as brief as possible here. Happy to delve deeper into any one of these areas. To begin, focus areas that we align with of the city, growth and attraction, business, new investment, talent attraction and retention, increasing opportunities for new entrepreneurship and business friendliness, making Columbia a place where people want to be and the people that are here want to stay. So our goals and objectives that align with this, we build and maintain an international network around economic development opportunities and also university partnerships. Maintain communications with our city's sister city partners and related business prospects. We track and harness Columbia's talent internationally. We've talked in the past about the MIBS database that we're compiling of our successful graduates abroad, but also trying to speak with those here, both in high school and college and young professionals. Quick example, last night I spent a couple hours hanging out with the new IMBA students and telling them why they want to stay here after they're done. Earlier this year, went and hung out with, spent a day with kids at Francis Marion University trying to, convince them that they want to come to school here. So we also present the Global Vision Award every year, which projects our city and our state globally. So successes, our performance measures this year, quickly landing Finergy International Visitor Leadership Program, which we'll delve into a little bit more and how that brings opportunities to us. Our sister cities and international network and how that builds a bridge for the city around the world and brings opportunity back home. And then we'll kind of delve into the Global Vision Award this year, last year and this year. So we've heard a lot about Finergy in this past year. It's been an amazing success, all within from May 2024, when we first met them, to present. And I think it's really important to highlight the teamwork here and how inspiring it was to work with everybody, to work with the partners, work with the city, both town and gown, but also with the city and the county to make this work, to not only attract them here, but to integrate them into Columbia. So we've worked closely with this company from that first meeting through multiple visits here to town to establish their landing in Columbia and help them connect with the community. But it really took this whole team to bring them together, to connect with everybody and form those important partnerships. So I really appreciate and again was inspired by that. Importantly, though, through this mission to Switzerland, we've firmly established an economic development partnership in Lucerne, Switzerland, and its surrounding areas. There's a lot of opportunities still to come from there and a lot left to explore. Having Finergy here is a real feather in our cap as our designation as a federal hub for energy innovation. The company now plays an important role, or will play an important role, through partnerships with SC Nexus, through the Battery Innovation Center, and SC Fraunhofer, and also a solar project out with the airport. Yeah, this success really highlights the need for CWAC to continue to maintain strategic network city partnerships in our role as an international center for our region. It's been a wonderful opportunity to work with them as they come, because it's really, I felt like, bridged my work with the rest in the community and the rest of our partners. And I have to say that the company has hired one of my interns, Rachel Roberts, who's with us here today, also hired one of my board members, and hired the now former director of the SC Fraunhofer USA Alliance, which was also a direct result of the World Affairs Council's work. So moving on, the International Visitor Leadership Program. This year we merged and acquired the Columbia Council for Internationals, which is a nonprofit that's been around since 1965. But they've sort of kind of reached their limit. We didn't want to see these very important programs go by the wayside, so we've taken them on, and it presents a significant opportunity. So we successfully integrated these programs and exchange program work more specifically with the U.S. Department of State, becoming also a member of the national coordinating nonprofit Global Ties USA. Most significantly, we're now officially designated as the organization to host the IVLP projects, which is a foundational exchange program of the U.S. government, and you'll read more in the handouts there. There's a lot of rabbit holes to dive into there. But CWAC this isn't new work for us either. CWAC's worked with CCFI since we were founded to host these programs, and more significantly in the past 9 years to expand our capacity to host more and do a better job of not just doing successful programs, but connecting them with our people here for opportunities. The Global Ties, well, also to say that the people coming to these programs are future leaders in their country, of their industry or government. Over 500 heads of state have passed through the program over the last 70, 80 years that they've been doing IVLP. People like Margaret Thatcher first came to the U.S. through IVLP. So these aren't just, startups or, small business leaders. These are people who are going to lead their field. The Global Ties U.S. membership in IVLP significantly expands our network and our city's profile. We're going to be hosting hundreds of people coming through, seeing Columbia and what an innovative, cool place it is. These connections are long-term and they have an impact. International exchange programs do bring this economic prosperity to our city and to our workforce, long-term relationships in government, business, and academia and other fields. And we can just quickly look at the economic impact of these programs on our local economy. The last solid numbers that we have from a third party go back to FY22, and you'll see that we had an economic impact of over $322,800,000. And of course, this money spent in our hotels, meals, restaurants, retail, going to cultural events. All of these groups want to go shopping, so we always include a good afternoon for them to go out and buy stuff. But it should be noted that this is during the pandemic, right? So we've significantly increased the amount of visitors and the amount of economic impact on our city. So I look forward to giving you more updated numbers the next time we talk and when those are available. But quickly, I'd like to highlight the last two programs that we hosted as an example of why these are great. So recently hosted a group of scientists and energy business leaders from the largest energy company in Egypt to come and meet with our leaders here. And they had very exciting meetings with several folks and have already followed up with me and followed up with these companies or entities. They met with Colite Technologies, which was actually one of the most exciting
Good to
programs
hear.
they had. Yeah, I know. I thought I might mention this, that they were really excited as a partnership to work together on batteries and battery storage, and what Colite's doing, they thought was really great, and thought they could bring some of that back home and might be able to contribute some to research into great batteries to be used in products. Of course, very excited to see the Battery Center, Innovation Center going up, and to tour the McNair Center and see all the amazing things that are happening here. Also at the AI Institute and how that integrates into everything that they did. And it just, really blew their minds. I mean, these are groups that go to New York and Boston, San Francisco. The government does a really good job of spreading them around the country to get a real cross view of what America is and interact with real Americans. So when they land in Columbia, South Carolina, and see that we're leading the nation in sustainable energy innovation, they were really blown away.
Battery storage is the absolute new frontier
It is,
for energy.
yeah. And excitingly, and I'll
We
get to-
we just waste it. I mean, it's like
why not harness it?
fridge every night and starting over the next day, so.
Right, and there's so many great ideas, great innovations that are just right around the corner about to hit market. So, and then our next program that we had was a group of members of parliament from Botswana, a large group that came to visit with us around economic development in their country and what they're trying to do, and learn best practices and the great things we're doing here. They had really great, really long session at the Darla Moore School of Business, speaking with Professor Chris Yankee, who has for years sought a partnership with the University of Botswana. This meeting seemed to really push the needle forward on that happening. So very exciting. Excuse me. They also met with the Rule of Law Collaborative. Botswana is incredibly stable, adherent to the rule of law, but there's still corruption, like there is here. And so they learned a lot from that one. They're really trying to develop their tourism industry. The main reason of them coming on this mission was Botswana is a wealthy nation, but it's all around diamonds and the diamond trade. And they want to get away from that. They know that's finite. Now you can manufacture a diamond in your lab. So they need to find other things. Tourism, they know they've got safaris. So we took them down to Soda City, not just to walk around, but to meet with the founder and walk with him and talk about how that project grew to what it is today. Again, they were blown away, loved what they saw, and are going to stay in touch. They also had wonderful meetings with Councilman Tyler Bailey and met with Senator Tamika Devine, in which they really connected, had a really amazing conversations. Councilman Bailey even continued to host them for the evening. It was the day of the Black Expo, and so he took them to the dinner there, which was very exciting for them. So it was a great group. This is just a quick snapshot. The good news is that it looks like the State Department is really channeling their focus into areas that we are well positioned to host programs on, namely energy innovation and economic development. It's really what they're trying to push. So you'll see on the second page of that handout kind of a list of the themes of projects that they're looking at for this past year. Next year, it's going to be even, I feel like, more narrow towards business opportunities, transactions, and energy innovation. So to move on quickly into our work with the international network and our sister cities, CWACS, we're leveraging our footprint to connect the dots here and building collaborative efforts among our government, our academia, and our industry. A couple of quick notable delegations that we hosted in the past year were the ambassador and embassy staff from Ghana, which of course we have a sister city in the capital of Accra. An amazing time with them. I can go on about each one of these visits, but to be brief, we also hosted the British Consul General and the consulate staff from Atlanta. Really strong partnership with them in connecting with the other consular corps in Atlanta. Very interested in obviously Scout, you're going to come back here soon with their trade officer. But of course, laying the basis to build off of the state MOU that we now have with UK and Ireland. And we'll get to more on that in a minute, but a lot of opportunities there. Also, this is the second time I've hosted a delegation from the Korean Economic Institute, which always brings with them a senior officer from the Republic of Korea's embassy and the State Department. This time they sent the Korea desk chief. So it's a really core group to have the CEO of the KEI here with those two. Met with Secretary Lightsey, met with our university, of course, very interested in the partnerships that we have there, and introduced them to students. And we had a wonderful roundtable at Parker Poe with our business leaders and interests with Korea. We can get into more of that in a future slide here. So the most exciting, most recent also development in our international network now is creating a sister city with Naju, Korea. Many of you probably have not heard of Naju, but possibly have heard of it. Its neighbor Gwangju, which is the large metropolis area. Many of you maybe have heard of KEPCO, which is Korea's national energy company. And some of you have probably heard of Kintech, which is the campus that USC, specifically the Moore School, has a relationship with. So we, building on that delegation visit with KEI and Central SC's visit previously in November, and connecting them and trying to help use KEI and those assets at the embassy to help prepare the city for their visit back in March. I was very excited when the city came back and I was told that we want to form this relationship with Naju, right? Really leverages an amazing relationship that's existed for quite some time now between the university, Kintech, KEPCO. Of course, there's over 500 plus Moore School MIBS graduates in Korea who are very successful and very active. There's so much to do here. There's so many exciting things that we're already working on. Again, it's another feather in the cap for us as an energy hub and the work that we're already doing here with batteries. There's a ton of synergy. So we're actively drafting the proposal and resolution for a sister city agreement that I believe we're going to start out as a friendship city, though, not just dive right into the official sister city thing. Like, we're going to form this understanding and collaborations with each other for a year or so, see how that goes, and then make it official with have the mayors together signing a resolution. But very exciting. So please keep an eye on Naju. Other sister city activities worth noting here. It's celebrating 25 years with Kaiserslautern, Germany. This has been by far one of our most prosperous sister city connections. From it, we have the formation of the South Carolina Fraunhofer, countless others, cultural exchanges, just a beautiful friendship, lots to celebrate. Next year, K-Town, as it's affectionately known by Americans, celebrates their 750th birthday, and they really want us to have a presence there. So I'm working on sending musicians. We're going to send our jazz ambassador. They want filmmakers. A couple of months ago, I facilitated a virtual meeting between the mayor and the Lord Mayor, in which we kind of talked about the possibilities for this year or next year. We're going to have a celebration down at Bierkeller in the fall around Oktoberfest to really highlight that for our community here. Kaiserslautern will do something similar. And then next year, kind of be a year-long celebration, but concentrated for us, sending people over in the fall, September. They have a large city street festival that we'll have a presence at. Taichung, Taiwan. A lot of, in one of our most interesting sister city relationships that is growing now at a tumultuous time, but a wonderful time to connect with Taiwan around tech and innovation, around energy. Over the past year, I've really been strengthening my relationship with the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Atlanta, their answer to a consulate. Most recently, I facilitated a dinner between TECO, their staff. Congressman Wilson was there. We also had a meeting recently with TECO's Economic Development Director and one of our South Carolina representatives, Chairman Bradley. SC Bio was there. The director of AI Institute was there. I think we'll see a lot of activity around AI specifically with Taiwan that has lots of implications across the board. It'll be very exciting. So again, leveraging the growing importance of AI, but also and life sciences in our manufacturing and strategically building collaborative efforts there. So to move on quickly, we had a wonderful Global Vision Award in December. Thank you to those of you who came and for all of your support. Wonderful opportunity to highlight our top ranking business programs at the university and all of those together. Great way to connect with the MIBs and other IB graduates around the world. So that was a great success. We'll be announcing officially soon, but this year we're going to honor Nobel Prize recipient Governor Beasley for his work with the World Food Program. He is back here in Columbia. He is at the university. Where exactly he lands or what that's going to look like, I think everybody's kind of fighting over him at the moment, but there will be a significant celebration come Monday, December 1st. So please mark your calendars for that. And then looking ahead, economic development missions that we are prepared to do to support the city for potential network city visits. Of course, going back to Switzerland, there are two significant companies that we've been engaged with for the past year that present great opportunity. GWF, some of you may be more familiar with them. They ran a very months-long pilot with our water management system. GWF makes water management devices that are highly sensitive and reduce waste greatly. Assistant Manager Sheely knows a bit about this and was very helpful in that test pilot. COA is a thermal energy storage company that captures the energy off of steam and converts it into electricity. It's about their base product's about the size of a hot water heater, but it'll power like your house and your neighbors. They're a younger company, but already like Finergy, they're in the same technopark as Finergy. They're their neighbors, so they've been hearing everything that's been happening. They're excited to come. Our contact there has already put together a great proposal for a visit back to also explore the life sciences sector in Lucerne. We have a great opportunity to go to the UK and Ireland to build on this MOU that the state has signed. We have a very established great contact who we have led one mission there 2-3 years ago now. And are still working with Jack Stopforth, who's based out of Liverpool, but his career was on the London Economic Development Council.
Jason, I hate to do this, but I'm going to get you to kind of wrap it up. We got
Yep.
2 more groups. And
Totally
we got
understand.
25 minutes and,
Obvious opportunities in Korea, Accra, mainly diplomacy and education. To continue, we're going to expand the IVLP. I hope to hire somebody else. I already now have a part-time program director. We'll hire another one. We'll move forward. Again, economic development, energy projects. We have programs coming up on advanced battery chemistries in a month. And this month we have Latin American entrepreneurs. We're going to expand and leverage our network for the prosperity of the city. And we stand ready to fulfill the goals and needs of the city and promote its international opportunities. Quickly, challenges, as always, for everyone, funding and staff. IVLP comes with some revenue, so pushing that forward and trying to generate some money here. Please do consider my request for additional funding. Of course, in the year ahead, our greatest challenge is just really the uncertainty in the international realm. But as I note here, that also comes with an opportunity. There is a big push to bring more business to the U.S. and I'm in the position to harness that. So Columbia is open for business, and opportunities quickly leverage the platform we've created, continue IVLP. We're going to build closer ties with Taiwan and Korea. Those two can work in concert. We're going to broaden the awareness of opportunities already here for our businesses throughout this network, finding new markets. We're going to strengthen this landing pad coalition that works so well with Finergy, working with everybody together. And thank you.
All right, thank you, Dixon, appreciate it. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you. Yep, appreciate it.
All right, we're gonna keep moving quickly. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
All right, let's get that up on the screen and we'll get rolling. Maybe. There we go. All right, good morning again, everybody. I know you've had a long morning, so I'm going to be brief, but thank you for the opportunity to join you. And I look forward to sharing a little bit about the last year. And just to echo everybody's comments, we're finishing up our fiscal year June 30. So in a couple days here, we finish. And the message I've been sending to all of our stakeholders and into the community is we've built a ton of momentum. All of that energy that's been talked about, all of the activity that's been acted about is great. But now we're taking that next step. So we're going from momentum to intention is what we're calling it. So that's where you'll hear a lot of our activity. We are the Regional Economic Development Organization for the center part of South Carolina. We're 8 counties as well as the capital city working alongside City of Columbia. So in that space, our primary focus is to go out there and attract business and investment into the city, helping new companies find this region, helping existing companies grow and expand. That's our primary role. We do dabble significantly in the marketing space as well to make sure the story of this region is told not only to our residents, but told to the world about what the opportunities look like here. When I first met with you guys last year, we talked a lot about what it was going to look like. Well, this is the results. Looking at just fiscal year 25 alone, the organization has developed over 100 new leads. What those leads mean are companies that we've identified that fit the profile of this region, and we've interacted and interfaced with them to raise awareness and educate them on why this region could be the right place for them. Every single one of those leads was shared with the city. We are being very, very transparent in what we do. So we share those opportunities, and those opportunities are helpful in many instances. One, if there's a real estate solution to identify for that company, phenomenal. But if there's not, it also arms the city with the information they need on how they can better serve companies that want to be in the region. So are there deficiencies or gaps in the marketplace that can be addressed? Certainly these provide those opportunities. In addition to that, we've hosted 12 marketing missions at the organization. I tell everybody we've hit that gas pedal and we are not going to relinquish it. So in doing so, we are now proactively making sure that the world knows and is educated about this region as a future home for their company, be it a relocation or an expansion. We've also started a new program where we bring in 6 leading site consultants into the marketplace for a couple days to really get familiarized with our region. And we use the capital city of Columbia as our home base. We put them in a very authentic experience right down here at Hotel Trundle to get the vibrancy of downtown and use that as the base to then get them around not only the city, but the region. And in doing so, we're going to continue to do that on an annual basis. I'll talk through in a moment some of the collaborations that we did, but we showed off the assets that are here in the city and in the region to better educate them as they represent the clients that could potentially make those large-scale investments into the city. We also continue to produce significant marketing materials with and on behalf of the city. So we've done everything from aerial drone footage on sites you guys have identified through putting together marketing collateral and then pushing that out to the key stakeholders, key audiences, and business leaders that need to know about it and share that with them. In addition, we've really underscored and heard that message that was shared when I first arrived here about a year and a half ago, the need for collaboration. And that's the only way economic development works. You've heard it from everybody, but I can underscore that we've engaged significantly with partners like the World Affairs Council, like SC Bio, like SC Nexus. We've worked with everybody to ensure that it's not just one effort, it's a collaborative effort. And in doing so, that has really reestablished our place in the market. And that note right there on local and international delegations, we've hosted In 1 month, I think we had 7 different countries come visit us in a 2-week period, simply because now we are a known quantity to attribute to the work that has been done and certainly the work that is going to continue in this space. With that said, FY25, I just wanted to highlight a couple things is not only did we build all this, we've built a very strong metric-driven system to ensure we're measuring every step of what we're doing. Like I said, we had to build a lot of momentum to get ourselves where we are, but we also wanted to measure every step of that to ensure we were truly bringing the outcomes that we had talked about when we started the process. So we've built a new lead generation system. What that means is every single one of the leads we meet and interface with are now categorized in a 5-step system. That 5-step system means step 1, we've met you, you've expressed interest, you took our phone call. Step 5 means we're going to announce you. And I can tell you where every single lead is every single week because I get a report that goes to my desk that breaks down each one. And then our team, our business development team, is incentivized on moving them through that funnel, getting them to announcement. So it is not just we meet a new company and they go into a black hole. No, they go through a process and a system to ensure we can get them to the place we want, which is creating jobs in the community.
So when you say all leads continue to be shared with the city of Columbia, are they the one, or is it truly all, or is it that those that may have expressed an interest in this specific setting?
So it is anybody that we have lead generation firms on the market. When we work with leads and get them interested or they express interest and we have a meeting, those things are then shared with the city.
Okay.
So every marketing trip we go on, we come back and provide every bit of our notes, pre-meeting, post-meeting to the city. And we basically say, once they're at a point where they have a real estate need, now we're going to transition and literally hand the relationship over to either the city or a region that can help support it.
Whether it's you or Ryan, I would like to see that.
Yeah. I just emailed you, Jeff, to ask about, I'd love to see the collateral as well.
Yeah, no, we can certainly share. Ryan's going to probably push it right over, but if not, we certainly can as well.
My question was gonna be, couldn't you just basically make a living off of recruiting companies that are gonna be associated with Scout for Columbia? I mean, couldn't
over time,
you just
yes.
say, you know what, we're gonna focus on Scout, nothing else, except unless, somebody's begging us to take them. Why wouldn't we just say, we're gonna have a Scout directive?
So I'm going to hold that thought for 1 second. I'm going to get to that in a minute because I think it'll really answer that question more thoroughly versus just going at you now. On top of that, real quick, we've continued to underscore the need for transparency. So our investor meetings that are shared with all of our stakeholders, including the city, are participating in bi-monthly meetings where we've had tremendous turnout. And this is where we share every single thing the organization does. I mean, there's only about 1% we can't share, which we hold back company names, but you can come and see every single thing we're doing. We do it in a way so that our stakeholders can see the ROI for their investment and ultimately hold us accountable on whether or not we're moving the needle in what we've said we would do. That said, we've continued to share also market trends because we're out in the global scene pretty significantly. And with that, we're understanding and seeing a huge emphasis on returning to the office, meaning the city is in a position to potentially welcome opportunity now because there's a big push nationally to come back into the office. So that said, the real estate that sits in the city, we are hoping can be activated in a more intentional way. On top of that, we've also leveraged other assets in industries working alongside University of South Carolina, working in some industry sectors that we think have high potential here. I just highlighted insurance and finance, but also the bio industry is one we think is also opportunity. For FY26, our goal is to double down on our efforts. Like I said, use that momentum to really get very intentional. We've launched strategies as it relates to the international and domestic efforts we have to attract companies. Those are not just broad-based strategies. Those are targeted strategies around industries we know are suited for best success in this region. So we go out and identify where those clusters exist and then bring them here. We also are going to continue to host that familiarization tour. I ask you to please mark your calendar, the 22nd to the 24th. We will have the consultants here. October 23rd, we've rented out a part of Riverbank Zoo to host them and show off that asset alongside with our stakeholders. We also, as it mentioned here, will have several of the partners that have been in the room, as well as hosting some of them at the Boyd Innovation Center, showing off that asset exists here in the city of Columbia. It'll come to, I think, to surprise to several of them that think of our market a certain way, but when you get them here and show them the assets, it gets exciting. We'll continue to host the collaborations and partnerships. We're doubling down on collaboration everywhere. And then to share a little bit more, we'll continue to provide the core support functions in every way we can. We'll sponsor events, we partner in activities, we provide everything from financial to staff resources to the city. I know we're in process now of filming another drone video of another piece of real estate that will be shown off to the global market. And then also, we are launching on Thursday at our annual meeting our new regional strategic plan. And what that strategic plan is, to Councilmember Brown, your question earlier, what that did was take a deep dive, talk to stakeholders from the city to the 8 counties that we cover. And what it did is really thread the needle on what connects everybody. And part of that exercise identified the key sectors that our region currently is strong in and where our future potential is. And that's going to drive how and what we attract for companies. And the reason why that's important is you have to have a foundation to tell that story, not look and wish to be something, right? So part of what you're describing in Scout was broken down very granularly to say, this is what we can attract here based upon that Scout investment and other things happening in our community. So the strategy, which will be shared publicly on Thursday, we'll take that deep dive. You'll get to see some of that. And then you'll see the KPIs that we've associated with every function of it so that we're held accountable as an organization to deliver on what that strategy said is possible. So that will be, I think, a really good document to dive even deeper to your question. Some of the challenges we share, just looking back at our collaboration with the city, these are all constructive. There's nothing negative here at all. It's just how do we continue to fill those communication gaps that exist. When I say that, my board has challenged me to really try to get out front of more of what we're doing. We don't talk about ourselves ever. We give everybody else the credit. And that has become a challenge, my board has told me, because nobody knows we're doing all the work we're doing. So we're trying to work with our partners to be more intentional around that. When I say that, we've partnered with so many of our counties to help work with them on groundbreakings, announcements, things that we can help amplify for the community. We don't need to be the front, but we have a network that could be that is not being tapped in, I guess, as significantly as it could be, and would encourage the city to do that. I would also encourage to be included and engaged with your guys' efforts as early as possible. The more time we have to plan and help execute things that are priorities for the city, the more we can be successful. We're happy to run on the fly. We've done it plenty. When you guys call, we mobilize, but the more planning and time we have is the more impactful we can be. That said, some of the barriers I think might exist is really trying to minimize those last minute requests, understanding they'll come, but as best we could.
So what's an example of a last minute request?
For example, South Korea, the mayor's going to South Korea a week before his trip. They call and say, can we fill a day of meetings for him? Not an easiest thing to do, but we do it, right? Switzerland, same thing. We did it, and I'm happy to do it, but it requires a lot of effort to make things happen, and we only want to exceed expectations. So with more timing would be great.
Okay.
That said, advanced planning, as you guys think through the next 12 months, if there's things on there that we can support, letting us know in advance would be tremendous because we can be more intentional about it. So that said, I leave that open-ended to you guys, and we continue to be as much as we can transparent on the communication. So the more you can share with us for feedback, live time, I think the more successful we can be as a partner for you. When I look at opportunities and programs here looking ahead, we're just going to continue to maintain that transparent communication with all of our partners. So the lead generation, the other activities we're doing for the region, we're going to continue to do. We've continued to do all we can to support the efforts that each community has as priorities, knowing all of our communities are a little bit different, but I think that strategy that's going to be released is a good way to thread that needle. It is riddled with those KPIs I mentioned, so you will see that very public-facing document pretty soon that will really outline what our priorities will be. And what we're looking at as an opportunity is essentially to maintain our relationship with the city, with the funding support we have. I think we're looking at growing this organization. The strategy made it very clear. We have some holes in in our staffing model that need to be addressed if we're truly going to move to that next level. So at some point, there'll be probably a conversation that will need to be had around that. But at this point, we're trying to continue to use that momentum and intentionally go forward. And that is continue to make sure we're expanding our opportunities. Last said here, I just put some questions together for you guys to ponder. This can be a now thing or it can be a later thing. But what I'd love is for you to look at some of these and really hone in on what we just talked about, but also are there things missing, right? Are there gaps for you guys as a city in collaboration with us that we could be doing better? Are there things that we're not doing at all that we can be doing? Or is there stuff we're doing really well that you said, let's double down on it and do more of?
So are you saying that you don't understand the goals of the city of Columbia?
I think we understand the goals of the city, but I think things come up often, and we're trying to kind of say, instead of going like a spider, can we coalesce it around, a center of activity or a work plan over the year?
Can we find some time to potentially meet with them and do more of a working session, Jeff, to talk about some of these things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially because I know we've talked about some of these things tangentially anyway, in terms of our goals for economic development, but I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I agree. It would be great.
I would ask too, to your point about the planning and things coming up last minute, duly noted. But what are you all doing if it's lead generation, for example? So the flip side of that, are you seeking out with the city if you believe there would be a lead generation opportunity or whatever it might be for a international trip or that sort of thing? I know in many, many years past, y'all may have driven that train, but again, you need to know what our goals are so that you're not just
Yes.
picking something that doesn't make any sense with what we
100%.
need to do. But, I'd love to see as well that you all are saying, hey, Mayor, we think and we need you to plan your schedule around X, Y, Z.
I will happily share, and I think the strategy was a key function of that because and you'll see in the folks we spoke to were everybody from council members all the way through that helped inform that strategy.
Yeah.
So we use that as the basis to then move forward with what our focus and goals and priorities will be for the next 3 years. Knowing there's going to be some adjustment year 2, year 3, but there is a roadmap now that exists. In our current strategies, we've also done the same thing. We've data mapped our assets for the city, uniquely different than what we've ever done before. Before, you guys, unfortunately, were just part of the bigger metric, and all the counties that can support it got the priority. That changed when I got here, I'll tell you right away. We brought it down to your level and said, what is unique about the city, and how do we map those assets to then inform our lead generation strategy? And that's what we've done on a domestic, now an international side. On top of that, we were the first organization in the state to launch a strategy around how do we attract capital to this state as a result of SC Nexus. So we compiled a study where they actually came to the city. They're actually here right now interviewing folks down the road to then better educate folks on what our assets are. And now we've identified markets around the world that go even more granular to companies that need to hear the city story as well as the state story around SC Nexus. And next year, we'll be actually going to those markets with partners to help educate them on why this is the right place. And we've given that study not just to keep it to ourselves. We actually gave it to the state of South Carolina's Department of Commerce, and we gave it to every one of our peer alliances saying, it's a collaborative effort, it's not just ours, but somebody had to do it, and we needed to get out front of that instead of saying, 2 years from now, we should be doing that. So to your point, well taken, and that's exactly how we operate.
All right, we're gonna have to wrap this up, but to tie into that was kind of my point about Scout. I guess what I'm looking for from Central SC is, I want y'all to throw the blueprint at us. I don't want to throw the blueprint at you. I want you to throw the blueprint at me. I want you to say, this is what our 5-year outlook is, just based on Scout.
Yep.
We think we can bring 100 companies here with $2.6 billion in revenue, and we're gonna need this kind of space, and we're gonna need this kind of collaboration and stuff.
Yep.
So that's what I want.
I think that's what you'll see, quite honestly, in that strategy. It's broken down at a granular level. It's not going to say Scout, but it's going to say what Scout does
I'm saying,
is there.
the strategy,
Yep.
our strategy is to run the city. So you're in the leadership role in what you're talking about, not us. So.
No, we want to be in alignment with you guys, I guess, is what I'm
One of the
saying.
key goals of the City of Columbia Office of Economic Development for you to lead.
Awesome. That's it.
Leadership role for this particular moment in time.
Awesome. I think that's really what we wanted to hear was that is if that's it, great. If you guys had something else.
You can get rid of all the other questions. That's the answer. Go ahead.
Jason, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a role with the new county public-private partnership structure
Great
and put in
question.
place?
We don't have a formal role. We still have the partnership and the engagement that we've had pre-function. Right now, it's basically the same thing, but we haven't had, we've tried to get engaged, but right now we're at the same point we were before that entity was created.
All right, thank you.
All right, good question. Thank you. All right, we got,
Awesome. Thank you.
all right, Lee, you got 8 seconds.
Oh, give him like 10 minutes.
Okay, 12 seconds.
All right.
Okay, thank you. I'm Lee Goebel with Columbia Opportunity Resource. I am the outgoing board chair, so I've got a few more days left, 6 days, and I will not be chair anymore. And then we have Ishana Young-Pierre in the back. She will be the new chair for the upcoming fiscal year. So this is my
Is your
last
swan
report
song?
as board chair. Yes, this is it. Really exciting year for us. The last 12 months have been, when we think about that collaboration that we've wanted to seek with the city partners, we've done some of that, and we look forward to more opportunities in the future for it. We took your template very literal. We did 5 slides, and so I hope we can get through this very quickly. Again, if you don't know Columbia Opportunity Resource, we focus on fostering local pride and boosting talent retention in the greater Columbia region, so we do cross the river some. Some of our members are there, and we have found really great engagement from folks in the area as well. But it seems like most folks up here today have been more business oriented. That is not who we are. We are, if businesses are the 9 to 5, we're the 5 to 9. What do folks do outside of work? And that's important because you have very robust business recruitment strategies and you get folks here for jobs, but do they want to stay here? Do they want to put down roots? We want them to get married, have kids, really invest in the city of Columbia. And so that's who CORE is. As far as our goals for the current year, we came into the current fiscal year saying that we were going to refocus our efforts to membership. We've done that. We've launched some interest groups in the past year that have been very active. We also looked at wanting to grow our membership. So I know Councilman Bren last year asked if we could, maybe double our membership in a couple of years. We're on track to do that, which is exciting. And then to grow our talent retention initiatives. So it's been mentioned today a couple of times. There's Crash Course Columbia, which is for folks who are new to the area, or maybe you've been here a long time and a lot's changed in Columbia in 10 years. And so it's that behind the scenes tour, if you will, of Columbia. We hit 5 or 6 districts in the area, make sure people know what's coming. We connect folks to local business owners and to local leaders as well. Then we have Capture Columbia that is more student-oriented, so folks who are in college. This year, we changed it to be from being a summer program to being in the spring. We gave it a shot. Mayor Rickman asked us to do that. We'd had other business owners and partners ask us to try it during the school year, and really good pros and cons to that, which we'll talk about. Next year's goals, we want to continue to grow our membership, core membership. We want to expand our talent retention initiatives even more and look at look into what it would be to scale those programs. And then, if you don't know, CORE is made up, or the nonprofit is run by volunteers, full-time volunteers. We do not have a staff member, and so we have realized that there are tons of opportunity in Columbia. There's tons of opportunity for us to continue to be involved. The one thing that holds us back is the capacity to do that, because we have 28 full-time working members who are volunteering their time to run the organization. So next year, we'd like to look at completing the due diligence at least to hire a staff member, so there's that continuity with the organization. Performance measures, very straightforward on how we would be evaluated on these goals. That would be total new membership number in a 12-month period. So from July to next June, if we can have 60-plus new members, that would be great. As we did this past year, total number of participants in our talent retention initiatives, both Crash Course Columbia and Capture. And then our goal by the time we're back here next year is to have a position description and kind of a goal of hiring a full-time staff member for the organization. Some of the challenges that we looked at this year, springtime is tough. We learned that with Capture Columbia. To get as many students as we've had in the summer. The biggest pro to moving Capture Columbia to the spring was a very different audience. And so the last 3 years of Capture Columbia in the summer, we've had mostly USC students participate in the program. When we moved it to the spring, we had mostly students from Benedict and from Allen University and a few from Columbia International University. That was really exciting because we had not had that. And so as we look forward to next year and in the years ahead, what does it look like to scale the program to where we don't have to pick a summer or a spring? let's do it both so that we can make sure that we're getting as many students from all the universities as possible. We've also had some technical issues, and that's more of an organizational thing. And so we're working to hire a consultant, and we'll work on that so that we have better track of data, because what we thought we were putting into a system, the system didn't agree with how we were using it. And so
We can find the company to kind of just do that for free.
exactly, and that is we've done that, and we're going to engage them starting next month. So yes, and then opportunities. We see greater opportunity for more collaboration. So one thing, and I think you'd be okay with me saying this, I've talked to Dixon with Columbia World Affairs Council about what it would look like for us to co-host a Table for Six event. So that's an event where we have it, and so that will be
Yay, collaboration.
yeah, that would be hopefully in the fall. So more to come on that, but. We had 2 great Table for Six events this year. One was focused on sports in the area. So we had someone from like Richland County Sports Commission come. We had a local sports anchor and somebody with USC Athletics. And so connecting Columbians to the folks in the sports world. And then we also had the most recent one, which was the Midlands media members. So we had folks from print media, from TV, from radio. They came and they got to connect with the folks who listen or read their news. And so that was exciting. But one idea that came up when we had these partner meetings, and Dix and I met, that we could have a Table for Six that was more world affairs focused. So we're excited for that, and excited for more opportunities to collaborate as well. I think that covers it. And I know it's very brief, but I also know you're supposed to have another meeting right now. So
Yeah, I know.
I think also if you did something with maybe some of the, thinking back to the Boyd innovation discussion, like
Same.
a table of 6
Yeah.
of entrepreneurs that have started
Yeah.
a business here or something like that, that could be really wonderful as well. I think it was a very strong statement that you made, that you are the quality of life, you're the 5 to 9, so
Right.
you can kind of humanize some of the business that's coming into the city. So whatever we can do to help that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's one neat thing, too, when we talk about collaboration with the Boyd Innovation Center. Before she left, Caroline connected us with a young man there who has started an online volunteer sign-up program, and he wants someone to own that. And so we are in talks with him to see what that would look like. And so we've been using a form called Sign Up Genius. That's the technology we've been using. But somebody in Columbia has created something that is local to us. And so we're engaging him so that our volunteer signups, and we have a few hundred people a year volunteer with us, all that sign up will be through his platform that he created right here in 5 Points. Yeah.
Great. All right,
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think, I agree
guess
with
those notes.
Dr. Bustles. I think it's really, this is the best way to end the
Yeah, because you
the
do
day.
everything to keep everybody happy about being in Columbia.
Right.
Yeah.
And the business is great, but it's, you have to have a quality of life outside of that. And Columbia does that well. Yeah.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, how about a quick motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right.
Oh, I thought you were saying second.
No.
You're endorsing all of the
We're not, we're gonna meet again later on that, just
So motion
because-
for adjournment, not
Yeah,
approval.
I just said, oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Okay, yeah, my bad, adjournment. Yeah,
Thank you.
the other A word. Okay, thanks. All right.